A 40-year-old mom who was supposed to love and protect her two sweet sons is going to prison for the rest of her life for shooting the boys in the head as they slept in their beds. Trinh Nguyen also admitted to trying to kill her nephew. How could she deny it? A camera caught the entire thing.
And 17-year-old Elmer Wayne Henley. It was Henley who unveiled this secret of mass killings and led police to the graves of the dead.
I woke up and he was clamping handcuffs on me. I was laying on my stomach. The other two were on their stomach and they were handcuffed and their feet were tied. I can't remember whether he tied my feet afterwards or they were tied when I woke up. He let me up and took them into a bedroom and strapped them to the board.
Henley said at one point Carl put down his gun. He picked it up, ordered Carl to release the other victims, but he refused, and Henley says he shot Carl repeatedly. Henley's initial story makes it sound as if he were in effect a hero, but police suspicions were confirmed the next day. Henley said he had been involved in the murder and burial of some victims found in the dirt floor of this storage shed. For most of Wednesday night, lawmen continued to unearth bodies, all supposedly young boys, early to mid-teens. All had their hands tied, the bodies wrapped in plastic. Lime had been poured over the victims to help decompose the bodies.
The Cook County State's Attorney's Office tonight denying reports that there is an investigation underway to find an accomplice to the murders of those 27 people, their bodies found at the home of John Gacy. Those reports are being spurred by statements of Jeff Rignall, who says Gacy drugged and sexually molested him at the Gacy home. Gacy himself scheduled to appear tomorrow in court to face the charges in connection with the Rignall case, but it's doubtful that he will be in court. The ramifications of the mass murder tonight continue to spread even to people totally unrelated to Gacy, his house, or those he had dealings with. The side effects now reaching into Chicago's community of clowns. And tonight they offer insight into John Gacy by analyzing the way he put on his clown makeup. They say the lines forming his mouth are not rounded but pointed, giving a harsh, mean look. Only a true clown could notice that.
And then I did cut the arms, head, legs off, bagged each piece, triple bagged in large plastic trash bags, put them in the back seat of the car, thinking to drive them and drop the evidence off in a ravine, 10 miles, a deep ravine 10 miles from my house. Did that at 3 o'clock in the morning, halfway there on this deserted country road, I get pulled over by the police, and for driving left of center. The guy calls a backup squad, so there's 2 of them there. They do the drunk test, I pass that. They shine the flashlight in the back seat, see the bags, and ask me what it is. I tell them that it's garbage that I hadn't gotten around to dropping off at the local landfill the day before. And they believe it, even though there's a smell from it. So they give me a ticket for driving left of center, and I go back home.
Did you render him unconscious with the blow?
Yes.
And what transpired after that?
Then I took the barbell and strangled him.
Okay, and then after that? Had there been sexual activity before that?
No, you see, I wasn't interested.
Okay.
I was very frightened at what I had done. Paced the house for a while. I did masturbate over him.
Were you sexually aroused by the actual event of the...
By the physique. That's what it is.
Okay.
They had other suspects, and they had tunnel vision in to say, it's Gacy's house, it's easier to put everything on Gacy. The state come up with a scenario as to who did the killing, and then they just built their case around there. And as it progressed, they kept leaking stuff to the media, which made it even larger than what it was. The sensationalism grew, and it's like a snowball that you put on top of the roof, and as it's rolling down the roof, it grows and grows and grows. Well, by the time you get into about the first 60 days of my case, it is so big that nobody wants to back off of what they're saying, even if they're wrong.
What I was doing, I thought was right. The patients that I took care of, I like to think, I made their passing easy. They didn't have a choice, and I made it for them. I was being the judge and the jury and executioner. I'm just Donald Harvey. I haven't changed a bit. I have been rehabilitated. I'm ready to go back to the streets.
Donald Harvey used his position as a hospital orderly to kill dozens of patients at 3 hospitals over 17 years. Over the years, he has continued to call himself a mercy killer. The way he tells it, he was doing his victims a favor.
Patients may have a month to 6 months to live, and they were mostly put there just to die. The families, instead of sending them to a nursing home, they put them there. Or if they had no family, the county or whatever would put them there. Those are a lot of the type patients that I terminated.
I killed because I wanted to kill, but it was always the sex first and the satisfaction of killing them after the sex. I could kill a prostitute and have a lot less chance of getting caught. Because you don't know them, they don't know you. The police won't look as hard as they would if it was a senator's daughter or something, you know.
Throughout his 19-year killing spree, Ridgway dumped the bodies of as many as 70 women throughout the Seattle area. At the end of a runway, in woods along rural roads, and of course, in the Green River.
This is the Green River, the site of where the first 5 of Ridgway's victims were found.
To a point where I couldn't have sex with them anymore, buried them and try to hide them as much as I can, so go out and kill another one.
Sometimes Ridgway killed as many as 4 women in a single week. Yet this man, with a below-average IQ, was never caught dumping a single body.
They were just pieces of trash to me. Here's a guy who's not really muscle-bound, just an ordinary John, and yet that was their downfall. My appearance was different from what I really was.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Gary Ridgway's unassuming personality allowed him a 19-year killing spree, which took the lives of dozens of girls. Just what Ridgway was looking for.
He had like the perfect storm. He could access them at night under the cover of darkness, and he could access a lot of them.
More than 45 women have apparently fallen victim to the murderer, making it...
Gary Ridgway had long been a person of interest in the infamous Green River killings.
The man arrested is Gary Leon Ridgway.
We have a scale, say 1 to 5, and 5 being the worst possible evil person that could have done this kind of thing. Where do you want to fall on the scale?
I'd say 3.
3?
For one thing, I killed him and didn't torture him. He went fast.
Saw himself as a very competent serial killer who should stand out in the history books.
How do you plead to the charge of aggravated murder in the first degree as charged in count 19 for the death of Linda Rule?
Guilty.
Facing the death penalty, Ridgway confessed to 48 murders.
Guilty.
In exchange for a life sentence.
Releasing my sexual part, then my hate jump in. My hate to kill him.
As part of his plea deal, Ridgway agreed to speak with investigators in grim detail about his 2-decade-long killing spree.
Pleasure in killing is to be controlled, to have sex with them if I wanted afterwards, and to take away another woman so she won't hurt anybody else.
So she won't hurt anybody else?
Yeah, like my ex-wife did and everything.
You think we found her?
Yeah, you found her. It's across from Northwoods Hospital.
Linda Rule.
Who?
Linda Jane Rule. Ziggy.
I don't remember her name.
Robert Rule remembers the day in court when he faced his daughter's killer.
Mr. Ridgway, I had prayed for about 2 or 3 weeks before as to what to say. There are people here that hate you. I'm not one of them. I forgive you for what you've done. It's a commandment that you forgive thy enemy, and God doesn't say to forgive just one. You got to forgive all. So you are forgiven, sir.
While Ridgway pleaded guilty to 48 murders, his name has been connected to as many as 70 deaths. But the larger question of why he killed so many remains.
In 2002, 29-year-old Ronald Pituch seemingly lost it and killed his mother inside their home by bludgeoning her to death with a barbell before speeding off on his motorcycle. While driving aimlessly, Pituch spotted an 11-year-old boy on his bicycle in the next neighborhood. He got off his motorcycle and pulled the surprised boy off the bike before stabbing him and dumping his body in a nearby pond. Pituch was apprehended by police shortly after the murders. During the 2-year trial, his defense attorneys acknowledged that Ronald Pituch was manic-depressive as well as a paranoid schizophrenic. However, Pituch's own testimony was completely unexpected. He told the judge the song Ronnie by heavy metal outfit Metallica was written about his life. The lyrics of the song include "Lost my way this bloody day" and tell the story of a lonely boy who never smiled and never laughed. The court did not take this claim seriously, and Pituch was handed a 50-year jail sentence for the murders in 2004.
Anthony Morley, seen here on a TV game show, a trained chef, the first ever winner of Mr. Gay UK, and now a convicted murderer. Morley invited 33-year-old Damien Oldfield back to his home in Leeds. He cooked him a meal, they watched a film together, and went separately to bed. Morley, a man confused by his own sexuality, says he woke up to find Mr. Oldfield carrying out a sex act on him. He then went to the kitchen, had a drink, collected 2 knives, and returned to the bedroom. It was then that Morley carried out what the prosecution here referred to as a terrible, horrific, and bizarre murder. After cutting Damien Oldfield's throat, he then stabbed him more than 30 times using both of the knives. Then he cut parts of Oldfield's flesh from his body, took them to the kitchen, seasoned them, and fried them in olive oil. Police forensic experts later found traces of Morley's saliva on parts of that cooked flesh.
Took Shanann out to a place off to the site, and then
What were the girls doing when you were doing that?
just sent them back in the truck.
And then what happened after that?
Cece was first. She didn't have a blanket. She had a blue blanket, a Yankee blanket.
So was she alive when she went into the oil tank?
I put the blanket over her head,
And that's how she passed. Couldn't breathe.
I put the blanket over her head. I didn't want to. No. I strangled her right there in the back seat.
Okay.
What was Bella doing?
I was there.
Did she understand? Did she know what was going on?
She didn't say anything.
And then the same for Bella. Just without a blanket?
With the blanket.
Oh, okay.
I didn't look. Like every time I closed my eyes, I started to hear her saying, "Daddy, no," and that was it.
That's what Bella said.
I hear that every day.
You really? I'm sorry, man.
I'll leave you my presence. Good. Dan's funny, Dan's funny. Dad's not with me. Come on. Dan's funny. I'm not going to be in the room when the jury walks in. I'm not going through this, and you knew that, Your Honor. Sit down. You know how far you can push me. You want to make a circus? You've got a circus, and you'll have this all rain on your parade, Jack. You'll see a thunderstorm. This will not be the path that'll draw me you to rain. Buddy, sit down. You're going to have to get a party with me. Please, I'm a party. You understand? Since I have been in Dade County, I've been around. Don't shake your finger at me, young man. Don't shake your finger at me, young man.
She was wicked.
There was a feeling that the ordinary compassion or emotions of warmth towards the rest of the world were not there.
Mary's method was to massage the necks of the boys and tell them they had a sore throat and that she would make it better. And her grip tightened and tightened until it caused the death.
In 1968, an 11-year-old girl, Mary Bell, killed 2 little boys in Scotswood, a district in the West End of Newcastle. As with the killing of young James Bulger 25 years later, the deaths caused bewilderment and outrage. While the people of Newcastle were horrified by the killing of 2 defenseless toddlers, there were few cries for vengeance and little sensational publicity about the case.
Don't question me about my bloody well word, that's all I'm saying to you, that's it. 4 is all you're getting, and that 4, that's it. 4, that's it. That's it, I haven't killed any more than that. When I killed Sammy the Turk, that wasn't a self-defence, that was outright. Sorry, it shouldn't be swearing, but that was outright murder. I told the armoury squad that night that it was self-defence. I said he grabbed the gun out of the front of me pants, and I grabbed the shotgun out and click, click, click here, and I'll go and bang through the head. And I thought to myself, if anyone believes this story, they got rocks in the head. And next thing you know, the jury would come back and said, not guilty. I didn't go, cheer, cheer, I just dumbfounded as the jury walked out. I'm still looking.
What does it feel like to kill someone?
Didn't feel anything at all. What do you expect me to say?
It'd be like eating at the Holiday Inn in Parliament. That's what I hear. There's no such. This is something I have to get away from. There's no such thing as an ideal jury. It's something you have to fight against. To say, well, anybody who's against the death penalty is going to be an against jury. That's not so. And anybody who's black is an against jury. That's not so. But each person, you have to fight against the tenets of stereotype. And that's always been mine. Stereotyping age or sex or race. And it's not fair. It's such a unique situation.
So insignificant, I'm embarrassed that I should be getting this publicity from it. Really embarrassed.
Ted presented himself as a clean-cut, boy next door type.
Well, I'm sure it works, and you've got to have faith it'll work, or else you'd be reduced to some kind of, mumbling idiot.
Does that mean ultimately you want to get involved in the criminal justice system?
The funny thing happened to me on the way to labor law class one morning. I got 2 weeks in the spa, and yes, I intend to complete my legal education and become a lawyer and be a damn good lawyer. I think things are going to work out. That's about all I can say.
Prior to the trial, Ted had waived his right to a jury trial.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reality is, they have a compulsion to kill people, okay? They're not insane. They're nothing but evil, period.
Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieters today called the 79-year-old serial killer a scumbag. 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 Scumbag.
What's that?
Which one? Right here. All right. I ain't doing nothing. Relax. I'm talking.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
I'm relaxed. I'm talking. Relax.
I used to box. I've taken a lot better shots than that.
Yeah, I'm on that. Relax. But you're hurting, yeah. I ain't doing nothing to you.
A 15-year-old girl, her boyfriend, and friend conspiring to kill her father. Back in October of 2017, 50-year-old Aaron Fryer was beaten to death with a baseball bat. Police say his daughter, Ellen Rose Fryer, who was only 15 years old at the time, planned the crime along with her boyfriend. Then 19-year-old Gavin Curtis McFarland and 22-year-old Russell Pierce Jones II. Peter McFarland is serving life in prison after pleading guilty to murder, tampering with physical evidence, and conspiracy to commit murder. She read a letter in court in which she said she can't erase the past, but has learned forgiveness from Jesus Christ.
I'm not the same scared little girl I was over a year ago. I've seen all different kinds of people, and now see humanity from a new, compassionate perspective.
Fryer's attorney says the teenager was manipulated by an older boyfriend and claims she went through years of emotional and sexual abuse from her father. Because the case didn't go to trial, that was never proven.
2 Roman Catholic priests in Buffalo were brutally killed in the rectories of their Eastside parishes. Both murders happened a mile apart within a period of 13 days. Reverend Joseph Bissonnette and Monsignor David Herlihy. Decades have gone by, but Ray Bissonnette still remembers vivid details about the night his brother was brutally murdered by 2 teenage boys in Bartholomew's rectory.
Tied him in a chair, gagged him with his own sock, and beat him, then stabbed him to death.
About 2 weeks later, the teens did the same thing to Monsignor Herlihy. After the murders, Ray Bissonnette began to write a book about his brother and actually sat down with the 2 killers in prison who are currently serving a minimum of 50 years. He discovered their motive was money. All they got was a few $100s. Ray says his brother never had much because he gave everything he had to the less fortunate.
ambulance service. Is the patient breathing?
No.
They're not breathing?
No.
Okay. And who was it we're talking about?
Lexi, she's 3.
She's 3? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So she's unconscious and she's not breathing. So help has been arranged, okay?
Carol, do you want to marry me?
Yes.
And I want to marry you.
Yes.
And I do want to marry you.
He said you did.
We kept looking out the window. There's a black car in the trail light. After the first day, they didn't care. Walked in a couple of times.
Your conclusion is what?
That he did not commit the murders in Washington State, that he did not abduct Carol DaRonch, that he did not murder or abduct any of the other women in Utah, that he did not kill Karen Campbell, that he did not commit the crimes at Cuyahoga in Lake City or on Dunwoody Street in Tallahassee.
Gainesville, a university city in inland Florida. It was here that 36-year-old drifter Danny Rolling killed 5 students in just 4 days. The city was shaken to its core by the murders, and when Rolling was arrested for armed robbery on the 7th of September 1990, the police had no idea they had a serial killer in custody. Retired FBI Special Agent Ken Porter worked on the investigation into the Gainesville College killings.
He brought a dark cloud of fear and terror amongst the whole community of Gainesville, Florida for at least 2 or 3 months, where people were just afraid to go out, afraid to open their doors, afraid of the dark.
In fact, they found the 6-year-old girl who police say was murdered by her own mother. 36-year-old Nefertari Sancho is in the Bexar County Jail tonight on $1 million bond. It turns out she has a history of violence against children. Sancho, who is 2 months pregnant, was found wandering around naked at the Frontera Crossing apartments yesterday. Police say she told them she killed her daughter, Hosanna Sancho, because, quote, God told me to sacrifice her. Sancho was arrested 13 years ago for violently choking her 3-year-old niece. She spent time in a mental health facility after a judge found her not guilty by reason of insanity. Hosanna was a first grader at Bel Air Elementary. A vigil is planned on Sunday at 3 p.m. at Woodlawn Lake Park.
Fact.
Why aren't there more? Why aren't there more? It seemed like as I got older, I started making, well, physically, I just wasn't up to it. I knew that I had to fight with somebody, it'd have to be an older person, because I'd be just winded or wouldn't be able to fight physically. I don't know. I think it was just starting to mellow out a little bit.
Fox believes it's probably not just coincidence that Rader stopped committing murder around the time he got that job as a compliance officer.
Now he really had some power. Now he could really push people around. So he didn't have to do it with physical violence. He could do it through his job.
The killer still lusted for notoriety, however. So after first revealing himself in that letter to the Wichita Eagle, he sent a slew of letters and packages throughout 2004 and into early 2005 to local TV stations, the police.
They got me pissed. United States Supreme Court, you fucking... I'm telling you, man, you motherfuckers keep fucking with my goddamn execution. There's gonna be bloodshed. I'm sick of this.
Get their fucking warrant signed.
Pint-sized and baby-faced, Numan Muhammad shuffles into court accused of a brutal crime, the stabbing murder of 39-year-old restaurant worker and TAFE student Kim Chow. The 21-year-old was arrested at a halfway house less than 24 hours after Ms. Chow's body was discovered. Detectives say Ms. Chow was murdered and her body concealed inside a bedroom. Mohammed stole Ms. Chow's car, which was found abandoned in a car park off West Terrace. In a brief court appearance, the 21-year-old relied on an interpreter and didn't apply for bail.
Two of our deputy sheriffs, Brad Armstrong and Rod Sanford, were on surveillance in the vicinity of the cabin the suspect has used before. Early this morning, they checked this cabin and found the suspect, Frazier, asleep. They took him into custody without resistance. The suspect was not armed. Frazier was transferred to this office and has been booked on the warrant that was issued early last evening. This warrant charges the suspect with 5 counts of murder.
Christopher Dean wanted to turn his life around. He figured one last drug deal, he'd be able to turn clean, but he never got that chance. When he arrived at the home of brothers Xavier and Orlando Gibson, both members of the street gang Gangster Disciples,
they pounced on him as soon as he arrived.
It turns out Dean had once cooperated with authorities in California years ago. For more than an hour, 5 of the suspects beat Dean with a crowbar and a 2x4. They also sodomized him and tortured him before ultimately executing him.
They beat him to the point that his skull was actually depressed.
Jasper Green and Lamar Allman were hired to burn the body and all the evidence, but instead, they left the car at the MARTA station. The trunk was full of all the weapons used to torture Dean. And at the defendant's house, it was even worse. Prosecutors gave me these never-before-seen images from the case files. The defendants continued living in the house with bloodstains everywhere.
Before his escape, Ted Bundy had been out of his cell exploring that overhead crawl space he escaped through. Jail officials knew about that, and they did nothing about it. Now, Bundy was to go on trial Monday for the murder of a woman near Aspen. Over the weekend, he escaped from his jail cell by squeezing through a small hole in the ceiling. In Denver, KOA-TV says it is confirmed that other inmates had heard Bundy crawling around above the ceiling at times before his escape. The inmates told jailers, but nothing was done about it. KOA says Under Sheriff Robert Hart confirms this report. Today, the FBI took over the search and issued a fugitive warrant charging Bundy with unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. Agents feel the former Utahan is out of Colorado, possibly out of the country. The search reaches all over the West right now and the East Coast, Canada, and Mexico. Dozens of leads are coming in, but so far nothing solid. Some officers feel it's going to be a long time before Theodore Bundy is behind bars again.
I'm trying to comfort him as much as I could.
To keep him quiet, or because you actually were worried about it?
Both. Okay. Well, I'll go, I'm a bad guy. I care for people, I have concerns for people. So, and I hadn't really crossed that path yet where I was going to kill the people yet, so I'm still in concern mode.
It was a brief hearing conducted entirely over video link 4 days after Monique Lezak's body was found in her parents' quiet suburban home. fellow bodybuilder Sven Lindemann has been charged with her murder. The 51-year-old remains in hospital tonight under police guard after suffering upper body injuries in that alleged stabbing attack, which also injured one of Miss Lazak's 10-year-old twins. It's understood that Monique and he had been in a long-term relationship, a relationship that Miss Lazak had been considering ending. No further details were canvassed in court. It was a relatively brief hearing. Mr. Lindemann did not have the option to apply for bail, which means he'll remain under police guard and be moved to custody until his next court date, which is scheduled for the 16th of October.
He's strapped in the chair, the electrodes are fixed, then the executioner walks to a little room behind the electric chair, which is the power room, and the first charge of electricity, which is 1800 volts. This causes the body to lift up several inches from the chair in which he is strapped in, causes veins to pop out, his neck, his face turns purple. In some instances, there's an odor of burnt flesh. Occasionally, there's bleeding from the nose. A piece of cotton is placed under the mask that hides the face, catch the dripping of the blood. And then there's a second charge of electricity, which is at a lower voltage, about 400 volts. And then there's a third charge of electricity, which is up to 1400 volts. The time the defendant walks into the death chamber until he's pronounced officially dead is around 6 minutes.
Back in 2019, Fiera Muska visited Broussard at her South Austin apartment, strangled her with a dog leash, put her body in the trunk of her car, and then drove to her boyfriend's Houston area home, where she tried to pass her daughter Margot off as her own. Today, she pleaded guilty to first-degree murder as part of a deal, taking a capital murder charge off the table. She was sentenced to 55 years in prison, though she gets time served for about 3 years already.
I understand, Your Honor. That's correct, Your Honor. No, they didn't, Your Honor. No, they didn't. Yes. Yes, Your Honor, that's correct. Yes, I do, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, I do. Yes. Yes, we did, Your Honor. I'm in agreement. Yes. That's correct, Your Honor. That's my signature. That's my signature. Yes, it is, Your Honor. That's right. Yes, it does. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, I do. Yes, he has, Your Honor. Yes, it is. No, they haven't, Your Honor. Yes, I'm doing this voluntarily. Yes. Yes, they are. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Guilty as charged, Your Honor.
A Wisconsin man has been sentenced to life in prison with no chance of release after attacking 3 family members with an axe, killing one of them back in 2021. 38-year-old Thomas Aspsetter from Sparta was sentenced for killing his grandfather and injuring his granduncle and grandaunt. He previously lived with his grandparents but was asked to leave. He broke into that home when his grandparents were away and was asked to leave again. That's when he killed his grandfather and injured the other 2.
Violent crime like this, a hideous crime, is something you read about or you see on television. You think it's something that happens to somebody else. And when it happens to your family, it has a very devastating impact.
Aspsetter was convicted of 5 charges. When handing down the sentence, the judge said the attack was horrific and was the most vicious and aggravated crime he has ever seen during his time as a judge.